Hello my dears, welcome to another series that I almost definitely did not forget existed. I don't know what you're talking about in Audie's Guide to Neurotypical Social Skills. This is a series where we talk about social things that exist that autistic people and wider neurodiverse people with atypical social skills tend to either struggle with or simply do differently from neurotypical counterparts. I try to explain why that is, what both sides are doing, and how to do the neurotypical side. Does this mean that you have to change yourself to be more neurotypical? Absolutely not. This is just so that you can understand the things going on and have that info in your back pocket in case you need it on a later day, you know? So today we're gonna talk about small talk, why it sucks, why it especially sucks for people with atypical social skills, and how we can get good at it, or at least not terrible at it. And this also, like, a lot of what I'm talking about here very much carries over into like regular conversations more than just small talk, but yeah. Either way, communication and small talk is very, very important, which sucks, but we can do it because I believe in us, and if I was able to figure it out, so can you. So, step one, why does small talk suck? First of all, it's awkward, and it feels, I just realized there's so much glare in my glasses, but I don't want to refilm the first half, but maybe I'll take them off. Anyway, alright, so, step one, why does small talk suck? First of all, it's awkward and it feels unnatural, and every time you do it, your brain is like, I have never in my life had a conversation with another human being before, and I don't think I ever will again. This is horrible and I don't know what I am doing, and this person definitely thinks that I'm an alien. I think that this feeling is universal regardless of neurotype. Could be wrong, but either way, it is super anxiety inducing and also terrible. And typically small talk is with people that you don't know super well, making it more exhausting than typical conversation because you don't know their mannerisms or facial expressions yet, which leaves a lot of space for convincing yourself that they must hate me and I'm not good enough and they're bored, etc., even if that's not how that person feels at all whatsoever. And it takes extra focus to pay attention because you don't know what their set scripts are, their set ways of socializing are, so you can't just like zone out for 2 seconds, take a little break, and then pop back in the way that you can with people that you know really well. And then there's the whole situation of, do they want the honest answer to this question, or is this supposed to be a surface level teeny tiny baby conversation, kind of like how people are like, hey, how are you? And apparently you're not supposed to respond, I'm doing okay, I didn't sleep very well last night because I had a bad dream that a hippopotamus was trying to steal my toes, and now I'm really tired and also confused because why would a hippopotamus want to steal my toes, and also where did it come from? The conversation's typically supposed to be like, hey, how are you? I'm good. How are you? I'm good, thanks. Have a nice day. Thanks, you too. And then everybody moves on, which took me way too long to figure out because in my brain you ask questions that you want honestly answered. You don't ask questions for a quick lie or half-truth just to be polite. That makes absolutely no sense. Also, as an autistic person, usually my interactions are deliberate and they have a purpose. And since socializing takes a lot of energy, I don't want to spend my focus and energy on the useless part of the conversation. I would much rather just get to the point of why we're having that conversation and then be done with it. Unless they're my close friend, then the conversation serves a very different purpose. For non-autistic people, conversations are usually expected to follow a very particular flow. You ask who somebody is, what they think of the weather, etc. These surface level things that eases the tension, makes you get on good terms with each other, and then you go into the meat of the conversation. For me, that just builds up the tension more, and I would rather just do the thing and be done. The other issue is that small talk is a form of communication that, in my opinion, least lends itself to autistic speech patterns because it's meant to be a simple back and forth without a lot of depth. I typically communicate solely by dropping giant chunks of information, listening to the other person's info dump, and then adding on to that with another info dump. Short back and forth communication, that means that my auditory processing needs to pick up every single word that they say or I'm royally screwed in that conversation. And that happens more than I would like to say, if I'm honest. But all of that being said, whoa, my whole bookshelf just moved. All that being said, small talk is unfortunately very important. Majorly because small talk isn't just for new people, it's also for your friends. You should regularly be asking your friends like, oh, how's your day going? What's new in your life? Just as much as you ask that to strangers that you're forced to converse with. The only thing is that it feels like it's not small talk because it's different, because it's with your friends. Small talk skills help with all kinds of socialization, and they make interaction easier and less stressful. And unfortunately is also kind of a huge barrier to getting employed because job interviews rely way more on your perceived social skills than on your ability to actually do the job. So getting good at small talk could very much be the difference between getting a job and not getting a job. And I will say I consider myself to be very good at small talk at this point, specifically in the sense of networking. I'm really good at making friends anywhere and everywhere, and it has saved my butt more times than I can count. Also, when you're talking to complete strangers, it feels like a sort of game to try to figure out like where you overlap and then start a conversation about that thing. And I'm really good at that game because I'm really good at finding connections between things. But anyway, there are 3 things to keep in mind when trying to make small talk that make you, well, better at it. First, ask questions. Questions push that conversation forward so it feels like it's going somewhere. Particularly questions with more than a yes or no answer, though I know many autistic who has taken this too far in the other direction and will just interrogate you and pry into your personal life. try your best to figure out where that line is and not do that. Just use some light questions to learn more about the person and move that conversation forward. Some of my favorite conversation starters include, what's your favorite pasta shape? What's the most useless talent that you have? If you could instantly become an expert in something, what would it be? If you could go back in time, would you have chosen the profession you're in? What do you want to be when you grow up? What's something totally illogical that you believed as a kid? And of course, what's your third favorite land mammal? Can you tell that I used to teach elementary schoolers? Anyway, the silly conversation starters are often the most effective because they make somebody break down their walls a little bit, and if you choose a good one, can launch you into discussions about favorite childhood foods or the painful talent shows you used to sit through at your old job or something. And again, people have more in common with each other than you think, and it's really fun to try to find those little connecting pieces. I'm picturing like those little things that connect glow sticks to each other. You gotta find those, and then you're golden. The second thing to remember is that the other person in the conversation is probably just as anxious and uncomfortable in that situation as you are. So be kind and honest and just run with that. Also, for a tone tip, when you're doing your basic scripted like, how are you? How's the weather outside? Pretend that you're saying that to your very best friend and that this isn't small talk with a stranger, it's with somebody you hang out with all the time. That's gonna sound more natural and you'll both feel more comfortable in the situation. Remember that the other person also has lots of experiences and knowledge to add to that conversation, and try to learn stuff from them. If you're focusing more on what you want to learn from them, you forget that you're bad at conversation and you're just learning. And then things flow pretty nicely. And also third and most importantly, empathetic and reflective listening. Make an active effort to make the other person feel heard, which I know, easier said than done. But thanks to Jennifer Coco Toole's The Ask for Kids Secret Book of Social Rules, oh my god, that was such a good rhyme. This video is chaos. Anyway, thanks to that book and some other research of mine from way back when, I can kind of walk you through it. So here we go. Also a reminder, there's a difference between reflective listening and telling other people what they should feel or how you think that they feel. Watch that boundary. Now, reflective listening is a very good tool for anybody, but it's especially great with people who converse without looking in each other's eyes or looking at each other, because it's how you make it very clear that you are paying attention and listening to and valuing what they say, which is great for me because I have a tendency to have full conversations with people while doing completely different things. Now, the first step of reflective listening is to reflect their words back at them, such as, so you feel like you're not the best fit for the job, but it sounds like you know you're really qualified, so you're wondering if maybe you're overthinking it too much and should just go for it. Am I summarizing that correctly? Something like that. Step 2 is reflecting the feelings. So you're feeling nervous or excited. You look and sound like you just want somebody to tell you to go for it, but you're also afraid of that happening because then, the what if, right? And then step 3 is checking in to make sure that you understand. You feel nervous about getting the job. Am I right about that? And step 4 is to believe that they're able to solve the problem by themselves. If they're talking about a problem, you're just there to support them as they talk themselves through it. This is so how are you gonna handle that? What do you think should happen? What do you wanna do next? How do you feel about the whole thing? Aspect of the conversation. I'm also a huge fan of just simply going, do you want somebody to sit here and listen? Or do you just wanna talk it through and just have somebody to bounce off of? Literally just my general thing is, people think it's quirky when I ask questions about what kind of social interaction do you wish to have today? If you phrase that properly and people think that it's quirky and cute, they will actually explain it to you, and then you're gonna have a better time in the conversation. And they'll think that you're funny when you're just being honest. Other listening tools that you can use include staying silent and just nodding, or doing yeah, in consideration, letting them finish their thought before speaking and not interrupting, thanking the other person for telling you what they're thinking, and obviously making or faking eye contact. And I know that all of these things seem so simple on the surface, and then you get into the actual reality of having to do them, and all of a sudden you forget how words work. But that's what scripting and practice is for. As with all social skills, you're not going to be able to suddenly go from not doing any of these things to suddenly being able to do all of these things at once. So try to take one little piece of this, try to add one new thing into every few conversations you have, and over time this is going to become habit and you're not even going to be needing to think about it anymore. But also, you don't have to do any of these things if you don't want to. This is just giving you some tools. You do whatever you want to do. Another thing that's really important to remember is some topics tend to immediately turn people off and or make them uncomfortable. These include money or material goods, religion, politics, physical appearance, whether positive or not, anything that takes place behind closed doors or that you would censor in front of somebody under the age of, say, 8, and anybody who is not present, again, whether positive or not. I like to go into my small talk conversations with a basic, hey, how are you? This is my name and my pronouns. Nice to meet you. What do you do? Connect what I do to that, and things kind of flow from there. And I almost always refer to people as a friend, and I treat them that way from the first time I say hello so that they feel comfortable around me. Do conversations always go well? Oh, absolutely not. I still completely bomb them a lot, but I definitely have way more hits than misses at this point, and it's been a true life changer for me. But anyway, that is all that I have for you today. This was also a short one, but I hope that it was helpful in some manner. I've included an article called An Autistic Social Butterfly's Guide to Making Friends in the description you might want to check out. It goes more in depth about how to put yourself in situations where you can use the skills we just talked about rather than the skills themselves that we talked about. So it might be a nice jumping off point for you from here. I wish you luck in your friend making, networking, etc. And as always, thanks for listening. Thanks for learning. Remember, it's never too late to start over. I look forward to seeing you, my dear, in the next one.